Welcome, everybody, to Crashout Comics, a true comic book podcast. This is a podcast where four really good friends get together, talk about the thing we're most passionate about, and that is comics. Now, like I said, it's four really good friends. We really love each other. There's a lot of passion here. So things might get heated. We might crash out a little bit, but it's all fun. It's all love. And today, we're kind of just having a episode talking about what we're reading, going into some Marvel news, talking about some comments. We'll be reading those towards the end. And then if you stick around to the end, we're going to be picking our next read. This episode is after we talked about Marvels, so let us know down below if you watched that video and what you thought of that.
But first, I'm Yoo-Hoo, aka Yoo-Hoo Comic Review.
I'm Brendan, also known as DCNXP.
I am David, the Omnibus God.
And my name's Chris, otherwise known as Chris L.
All right, how's everybody doing, man? Oh my gosh.
I'm sick today.
Yeah, Yoo-Hoo's sick today, guys. So
I went to Sacramento, and then Chris L gave me a sickness.
Well, that's what you get for sticking your tongue
And then
in
I
my
got
mouth.
home.
That's what you guys get for not using protection.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I was saying. Is I went to California. Chris gave me the sickness. Now I'm home, and I got the cold on top of that.
Yeah, he showed you that California love, bro.
No.
No, I wish he showed me that California. He's really soft in real life. He's like a deer in the headlights. You know, he's all talk, no walk. I would hate to be a girl and go on a date with this guy, barking in your DMs, a big storm. Then you hang out with him. He's like, nice to meet you, pretty lady.
Don't listen to anything he's saying, guys.
I'm
He's clearly gotten a little manic from his sickness. He's going kind of crazy.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't check that out, we Chris L and Yoo-Hoo did have a meetup. We did, Chris did an amazing vlog. Shout out Yoo-Hoo too. I guess he recorded some stuff for it, but I think Chris made it what it is. So
No, I should. Sorry, I want to point that out really quick. Yeah, shout out Yoo-Hoo for being on top of recording and getting all of the B-roll. When I looked at all of my footage and I compared all of it to his, I ended up being able to salvage most of it and make something really good because of all the extra footage that Yoo-Hoo had filmed. So right. Shout out to you.
I wasn't trying to give him too much credit, but I guess
I did do that. You know, the thing is, at the end of the day, I'm just not afraid to be a chud. I think if you want to make vlogs, you have to be a chud and you have to record in public and look like a little lame. And I don't know. I don't care how. I mean, look at me, guys. I'm chopped. I'm unk.
no.
I don't give a fuck. I got a beautiful
Stop
woman.
lying.
I got a beautiful woman. I don't need to impress nobody. So when I go out in public, I got nothing to lose. You know, so I was just whipping out the phone. Oh my God, look at this crazy single issue, Christopher. And,
Wow.
You know, people were walking past us, looking at us like we're freaking crazy, but who cares?
I want to cut into this real quick. I was just checking the Crashout YouTube, and someone commented 30 minutes ago. Patrick Martin 9163 commented on the vlog. You got a chin that could cut diamonds. It's only natural he mogged us in the video. It was mad funny. Thank you, Patrick, for the comment. We appreciate you.
Completely.
That's
goes
crazy.
against-
That's not even one of my alts.
Yeah, I know.
All right, let's start it off. Pretty simple question. What's everybody reading right now?
So for those who don't know, David and I we did a challenge where we were trying to read 10 Omnis in 1 month. It was a mix of mostly Omnis and a couple deluxes in there. We didn't end up finishing it. I think we tapped out around 8 books, which is still pretty impressive for 1 month. But to get us into reading again, because we kind of were in a bit of a slump, we said, you know what, let's do it again just for fun. Mm-hmm. And so I got 10 books that I'm trying to read. So Silver Age World's Finest Volume 1. I'm partway through that already. I'm loving it so far, though. I don't think I've given one issue below a 3.5, 4 star. But
I think you're low key forcing that. I'm not gonna. I think you're forcing the glaze on Silver Age World's Finest.
Yeah, you would think that because you haven't read any of it. And then I have Superman by Tomasi and Gleason and Deathstroke New 52. I threw that one in there just because if I don't force myself to read it, I probably won't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see Deathstroke as a super interesting character unless he's tied with the Titans personally.
Crazy.
Did he stroke?
Why would you buy the book?
It was given to me.
It was given to you. Okay.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, I don't know if I've talked about this openly on the pod or not, but a few years back, I was actually given a lot of my current collection. Probably around half to 2/3 of what I've got behind me was just given to me. I just had a friend
because they're all in the wrapping, brother.
Yeah, so that is my defense actually for having not read as many of the books in my collection, because in my defense, it was just kind of given to me, and I wasn't gonna say no because at the time I was just getting into comics. You know what? I'm gonna give a little backup story here for how this collection ended up in my hands for those who are interested. So basically, it was back during COVID, peak COVID, very brutal time. I was looking into getting into comics. I'd only had like maybe 4 or 5 omnis at the time, most of which were New 52 iterations. And I went on Facebook Marketplace and I found a listing for New Teen Titans volumes 1 through 4 or 1 through 5. So I reached out to the seller, bought it from him. He was really nice. We ended up chatting. And then next thing I know, I ended up befriending this dude. And one day he's like, I need to downsize my collection low key. I've got like way too much. I'm only going to keep the stuff that I think is perma locked. In other words, like stuff I want to keep for life. Do you want the rest of it? I'm not going to say no. And so, yeah, a lot of this stuff behind me in wrapping was given to me. So I'm very grateful, very privileged to have had that opportunity. Very thankful for it. But yeah, those are the books I'm reading. That's my spiel. David, why don't you go next? What are you going to be reading?
Yeah, originally I had 10 books that were also different. I was gonna read Nightfall and stuff, but I just completely like switched up on that, and now I'm gonna read Spider-Man, and I'm gonna read just the 10. I'm reading Spider-Man in order right now. I'm reading Eric Larson and David Michelini's omnibus right now, which is really good so far. Then I'm gonna read McFarlane's run, like his actual like adjectiveless Spider-Man run. I'm gonna read that, and then it's Bagley Michelini volumes 1 and 2, and then it's the Clone Saga. I'm gonna read the Clone Saga, like all of that, and that should be the 10 omnis because Clone Saga is 4 omnibus. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not finishing that in the next.
I was about to say, is
3
David
weeks,
about
2
to
through.
confirm that Spidey fatigue is real?
No, bro, it's not that. It's just that these omnis are all huge, and the fact that I pivoted kind of makes it hard. I don't know though. The Larson Omni is so fun. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people kind of criticize Michelini's time on Spider-Man for kind of just how like goofy it is. There's a lot of really like just kind of like dumb plot lines that happen. I know you who read the Larson Omni. You who's actually read McFarlane and Larson with Michelini. And I know you who you think it's just kind of mid, right? But I feel like it's a really fun, goofy time for Spider-Man, and I think that a lot of things that are memorable about that era are definitely the artwork because you have art, like Michelini had artists like McFarlane, Larson, and Bagley, the 3 biggest artists of the 90s, and like 3 of the biggest Spider-Man artists ever. And what stands out about those artists, starting with McFarlane, who revolutionized the look of Spider-Man, is how exaggerated the character is. And I feel like low key it works because Michelini's writing is exaggerated as well. Like his writing is so goofy, but it's just like so adventurous. It's so like, all right, we're just putting it together, we're making things roll, like we're getting the wheels turning, and it's very like a soap opera. It reminds me of Claremont's X-Men, not in the sense of quality, like I'm not gonna say they're the same like level, but like in the sense of like you can tell Michelini's like constantly setting things up. Like you've got the Punisher team up ish. Well, you start off with the Spider-Man cosmic issues, right? So like Spider-Man has these powers. Kind of when you dissect it, it's an interesting look at like what if Spider-Man was the Superman character? Like he's this all-powerful being, but he's still more relatable than Superman. Like I think Superman is relatable, sorry Chris, but I don't think he's as relatable as Spider-Man. And a lot of the times it's like, oh, Superman's not relatable because he's too powerful. I think Michelini did a great job of being like, well, you know what? Spider-Man is so relatable and just such a better character that if he did have, you know, essentially the powers of Superman, he would still be more relatable and he would still be kind of that common guy that people love so much. So I love that. Again, just how goofy the stories are and it matches the artwork. Like I think, you know, I interviewed Eric Larson, a little bit of comic book journalism over here. And when I was talking to Larson, I asked him, you know, if how it was working with Michelini, if he got to work on the stories at all with plotting, because when you look at the history of Spider-Man, there's a lot of artists that also helped plot. Ramita helped plot, Ditko helped write, hell, and plot. So I asked Larson how Michelini was, and he said that Michelini was actually very strict about his scripts. Like he wanted nobody's input. He was doing his mission and he had his goal with the Spider-Man character and his script. But one thing that you can tell with Michelini, and one thing that Larson told me, and I think it's true with Bagley and McFarlane as well, is that Michelini was very big on letting the artists do what they want to do and letting them interpret the story as much as they want to. He had some comments like he didn't like how Larson drew Venom and stuff like that, and he told him to like reel it back a little bit. But when Larson was like, "I'm not going to reel it back," Michelini didn't complain about it, and like the book sold and people liked it, and it's one of the most iconic Venom looks of all time, and it's really impactful to the character of Venom, right? So it's stuff like that you have to like look into and kind of appreciate. Where it's like, is the Michelini run a little silly? Like, the US government is secretly trying to make cocaine the new gold. Like, is that stupid? 100%. But it's like, it's this fun adventure that you get with Spider-Man and Punisher. And it's a little goofy, it's a little over exaggerated with amazing exaggerated artwork. I'm just that smart to be able to comprehend comic book storytelling like that. And so when people can't do that, they might call it mid. And like, that's a you problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll talk about the books I've actually read because unlike you guys, I've been reading books.
I
so-
listed 3
He got-
books I've already read.
Brendan, he got us, bro. He gagged us with that. I'm not gonna lie.
Us? Don't group me in with that
No,
shit, bro.
no,
This is like
he got
that
us, bro.
fucking shit where someone gets caught in hide and seek. It's like, yo, they got us, bro. Come
They
on,
got
out
us. He
there.
got
They
us,
got
bro.
us. What the fuck are you talking about?
I actually had a pretty big reading week last week. I read all of Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men.
Hell yeah.
Got that out of the way. Pretty solid run. I'd give that like a
5-star
4
run.
out of 5. I think it's a little overrated. I think people like hail it as like one of the best X-Men comics of all time. I thought it was really, really fun. I think there's some really strong ideas in there. I think ultimately the last act of the book fumbles a little bit, and I think it falls over itself. I think Whedon has so many concepts in the book. You have this Earth-based conflict, you have a space-based conflict, and then you have this like mutant-based conflict. I don't want to
That's a part
spoil
of the
anything.
Earth. That's a part of the Earth-based one.
But they're like two separate things. At the very, very beginning of the run, minor spoilers, it's hinted that there's a cure for like the mutant gene. And it feels like that's going to be something that's integral to the run that Whedon's going to continue to explore. But it kind of just falls away to the wayside, which I was really disappointed by. And then by the end of the run, you're focused on this like space-based conflict, which in a lot of ways feels like he's just trying to rehash the Dark Phoenix saga, but replace Scott with Jean Grey, which is like cool, but I don't know. It wasn't like the best thing in the world, so I won't say it's perfect, but it's still really entertaining. I enjoyed that. I also read Gods by Jonathan Hickman. I've never seen I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that book. I thought it was really fun. I think it feels like Hickman tapping into the Secret Warriors days of his career where he writes a very character-centric ensemble feeling book with really insane like multiversal shenanigans. And I think Hickman has a lot of fun setting up the status quo of this world, showing you what it means to be a god in the Marvel universe and how kind of absurd that is. Unfortunately, I don't think it sticks the landing either. I think by the end of it, I think it could have benefited from being drawn out, and Hickman kind of did it in I think like 5 or 6 issues. So I think it felt very rushed. So unfortunately that book solid. I honestly one of the rare instances where I'm like, actually this is a reoccurring thing with Hickman. Actually, it feels like he kind of rushes the ending of his books sometimes, and this is one of those. But I just finished reading Assorted Crisis Events by Dennis Camp. Holy shit. I read the first, I think 5 issues is what's collected in the first trade. The 5 out of 5, dude. I think I'm not even lying when I say this. That might be one of the best books I've read in a long time. I read it on a plane. After every issue, I just like had to close the book and sit there and just stare at the front of my plane seat. Like, what the hell did I just read? The way I would pitch it, if you're not familiar, Assorted Crisis Events is Dennis Camp's creator-owned book in which the world ends, right? Every single issue is about the end of the world for a different Earth, basically, right? And you get to follow the stories of individual people in these different worlds, and it's about how they experience this unique version of the end of the world. And it's so devastating because it's not about the end of the world. It's about these people and what they go through. And a lot of the struggles they experience isn't representative of this like world-ending event. It's representative of who they are as people and how they kind of fit into the puzzle of life. It captures so many different perspectives beautifully. It made me tear up so many times. Crisis on Earth 2. Have you read that one, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm completely caught up on it.
The other thing about the series that really hits is that like there's a whole lot of heart and soul, but then there's definitely a lot of like political issues that are kind of neatly tied into these stories, but they're kind of analogous, so it's not a direct one-for-one comparison. Crisis on Earth 2 is such a great explanation of like how racism manifests through refugee crises, right? And it paints the picture not just from one side or the other. It's from a perspective that feels like it's coming from trying to understand both sides, but obviously, right, like at the end of the day, racism is bad, but you can also understand how something like that can manifest. That's why Camp is such an effective author, is because he obviously is somebody that has a lot of left-leaning values, but when he communicates those values in his work, he does his best to try to show the perspective of other political leanings, and so it doesn't feel like it exists in a vacuum. It feels like Camp is still trying to be honest about how the rest of the world works. Oh, and right now I'm reading Mutant Massacre, the X-Men Mutant Massacre stuff, and it's pretty fun.
I just finished working on a video, so I haven't really been doing too much reading, but I did get the chance to sit down and read the first issue of Frank Miller and John Romita Jr.'s Superman Year One recently. I've been rereading that. For listeners and people online, you might have controversial opinions on both of them, but personally, I like Frank Miller's writing. I think it's pretty good most of the time when it's not fueled by hatred and alcohol. And John Romita Jr.'s artwork has always been good and is still good sometimes.
People are gonna hate, bro. They're gonna
Preach
hate.
it. Preach it.
Look, at the time of recording this, they released the cover A for Spider-Man 1000, and it's the Romita cover with Paulo Rivera doing the painting, and it is gorgeous. And I think that's exactly what people want from Romita. They always talk about the colors with Romita. Like that's a go-to. Like they need to stop giving Romita Jr. digital colorist and like or switch more to like flats opposed to like, you know, more digital and like rendered like type of colors. And I think Palo does that for Romita in this cover, and it is chef's kiss, bro.
I don't like it.
What the fuck?
What
dude?
the beautiful.
It just
It's it looks
It's a bloody masterpiece.
the anatomy is exaggerated. The torso is really long. The shoulders are really
Yeah, that's Romita,
like
man.
round, and
Mhm.
that's Romita. And look at that
Mhm.
mask. That's Romita mask. But it's like smooth. And I think the biggest problem people have with Romita is like how sketchy his work can be at times, because that's how his pencils are. His pencils are kind of rough pencils. But like this Rivera, he's painting this and he's like smoothing it out, and it looks clean.
Man,
you know
like,
what it
it's giving
reminds
it
me
down.
of?
I look at
Animation.
this and I see a cartoonist style with a realistic finish, and I think those
And
two
that's-
as a combination together is just too jarring.
No, it makes it feel animated. Like, you know what this looks
Yeah.
like? You know what this feels like? This feels like it's like from the Spider-Verse movie. Like, doesn't that look like it would be one of the
Low-key.
Spider-Verse people with that animation style? That's what
Yeah,
it makes it feel like.
low-key.
It makes it feel animated.
Yeah, call me crazy, but I'm sure David, as our resident Spider-Man expert, can speak to this. This feels like a long time coming, sort of, right? You got like both of what would be like premier modern Spider-Man artists. Well, I guess John Romita can also be considered like a classic Spider-Man artist at this point too, or John
Definitely, yeah.
Romita Jr. It's both of them teaming up for this landmark issue, and both of them have iconic covers in the modern day. I'm sure all of us can think of a different Paulo Rivera cover that's like of that same iconography, and this is definitely going to be up there, I think.
All right, we're gonna segue to something that I've been wanting to have Decent XP specifically talk about, and I'm hoping that it's gonna make Chris L feel a certain way. So if you guys have been on Comic Talk TikTok, and I'm sure this discourse happened on Twitter as well, because that place is a freaky place. There was a few months ago the discussion of the superhero comic book Mount Rushmore. And for the most part, the consensus was the Trinity of DC. So Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and then Spider-Man, right? A lot of people kind of agreed that that is what they would say is the Mount Rushmore of superheroes. I think that's the correct answer. However, because it's the internet, and again, because it's TikTok and because it's Twitter, there was a lot of goofy people, kind of with their internalized misogyny, as Yoo-Hoo would put it, that were trying to debate Wonder Woman's place on that Mount Rushmore. A lot of people were saying that like Captain America should be there instead, and he's more iconic. There was motherfuckers that were saying Iron Man and stuff like that, and I think that's a whole different discussion about Wonder Woman and kind of how she's like she's like one of the most disrespected comic book characters, but also is one of the most like important comic book characters. And it's not just because she's a woman and because she was the first woman leading comic book character, but Decent XP over here actually also has a pretty interesting take on the Mount Rushmore. Is it that Wonder Woman shouldn't be there? I don't know. I'm gonna let him take it away.
You guys about to say Flash belongs on the Mount
Flash does
Rushmore.
not belong in the fourth spot, Brendan.
Let him
finished.
cook.
I haven't finished.
All
You haven't
So when we
started?
talk about the Mount Rushmore, okay, a lot of people like to replace Wonder Woman. I think they're dumb for that. Wonder Woman's
Real-
locked in.
real quick, Brennan.
Mhm.
But do you? Sorry, go ahead. Never mind. You were
No.
going.
Ask your question. I want to hear it.
I was gonna say, do you agree?
Oh.
Do you agree with the four? Like, besides the person you're gonna replace, don't say who you're gonna replace yet. Do you like the sound of the three DC characters and then Spider-Man?
I mean, I understand why people pick it. I just think maybe there's someone missing up on that Rushmore. And to be honest, I think I know where he could fit in. Anyways, like I said, Wonder Woman's got to stay locked in. Spider-Man, revolutionary. I mean, like, you got to keep Spider-Man in there. There's no way you can get rid of Spider-Man. You guys are probably wondering, who am I going to pick to replace? Batman or
Batman?
Superman?
Yeah.
And honestly, I could go either way, but it's called DC Comics. All right. DC stands for Detective Comics. Now, and I'm not done. And we've also talked about this. There has been conversation where Chris has admitted to the fact that Superman is just not DC's poster boy anymore, bro. That's why we got Bat Fatigue. That's why we got 20 Batman titles. You know, to take Batman off of the Mount Rushmore would be insane because it's DC Comics and he sells. Everyone loves Batman. There is no Bat Fatigue. I have my Bat fleshlight right next to me. So
Don't even joke, lad. Don't even joke, lad.
The Flash is the character who helped, usher us into the Silver Age of comics, Chris's favorite era of comic books. The Flash is also the comic book character who was used to transition us into the New 52. And I think that's a really important conversation to have. A lot of people, they don't look at the Flash as a really relevant character. They think he's overrated. You especially, you can tell by how bored he looks right now.
What was the Flash comic that ushered us into the Bronze Age? Exactly.
Damn. Wait,
Exactly.
what was the Superman comic?
It was Kryptonite Nevermore.
What?
You know it. No, you know that.
dude.
No, yes, it is, and you know that cover too. That's the most famous. That's one of his most famous covers. It's him breaking the Kryptonite chains. You know that
did not
issue.
usher us into the Bronze Age, bro.
That's
No.
his transitionary
None-
issue. What's
truth-
Flash's then? He doesn't
I
have
would-
it.
I
He
would
just said
say-
Flash has one.
I would say that Batman helps to define the Bronze Age more than anyone else. But
Oh,
we're not talking about Superman. We're not talking
okay.
about, I'm gonna be honest with you.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? Hold on. Let me say this. Hold on, Brendan.
What did you say about the Bronze Age of Superman
Hold on.
in your more recent video?
Oh, that is true though. Hold on.
About the Bronze Age of Superman?
Oh well, I guess pre-Crisis Superman you like, right?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the Bronze Age.
But so is post-Crisis Superman. That's also technically Bronze Age.
No, that's in the modern age. It's after Watchmen.
All right.
Bro, you gotta think about your argument before you fucking say it,
Yeah, but
guys.
to
Come
be-
on.
But look,
No.
consist-
Now let me finish. All right. So first off, you know what era that the Flash didn't usher us into? He was a second stringer. The first one, the Golden Age. It was fucking Superman. All right. And Flash ushered us into the Silver Age. He didn't define it. You know who did? Fucking Superman. You know what else? First off, Flash is a multiversal dude. We've had like 4 multiversal resets in the past like 5 years. Flash hasn't been a part of 3 of them. Fuck is up with that? Where's he at then? What's he doing?
What are you talking about? He was a key part. Who faced off against the Batman Who Laughs? The entire Flash family. What are you talking about?
When did that
I'm talking
happen?
about Dark
Who stole
Crisis.
back the
I'm
morning?
talking
When did
about.
that happen?
Hold on.
You, I know you
Brendan.
don't know because you didn't read the comics, but it's
When
fine.
did that happen? Tell me.
They literally? Okay, you know.
Are you
they
talking
have
about
it-
the Speed Metal spinoff? Shut up, Brendan. This is stupid. No, all right, look.
No,
if you
you're
want to
saying-
argue, hold on.
you're saying-
No, dude,
you're saying-
Brendan.
You're saying Speed Metal didn't
Brendan,
happen?
you could have, dude, Brendan,
I happen to
I'm gonna,
remember-
you could have cooked me. This was almost a good ass, this was almost good.
What happened?
But
What
you
happened?
picked fucking Superman.
Speed Metal didn't happen. Speed Metal didn't.
Bro
happen?
really said the Batman Who Laughs. He's in Dark Knight's Metal. He's in Dark Knight's Death Metal. He's in the Justice League. And then after all of that, he's in the Speed Force Metal spinoff too, guys.
It's a tie-in for Death Metal,
Fuck
bro.
out of here, dude.
All right,
That's
let
how
me-
Tie-in for
shitty.
Death
That's how
Metal.
shitty the Flash is. They
No.
gotta take a Batman Man Who Laughs villain to give the Flash a meaningful event, bro. All the Flash does.
Do you want
is
to know what
beat-
Death? You know what
he's
Death
goofing
Metal was? It
around.
was a Wonder Woman focused event. It's another one of the reasons why they should keep her.
Then
on
why
the
are you
comic.
referencing a Flash spin-off issue for a Wonder Woman event? What are we doing then?
Because you
No,
asked
but-
where he was at the event. You asked a question I answered.
He did answer.
What are you
it.
talking
That's
about?
not even a main part of the
said
event,
that. You
which is
said
what we're
that.
talking about, because that's the shit that you're on. Flash is the main part when he ushers us in, and he was not the main part of the event that you're referencing.
Yeah, you
Neither
said
was
that
Superman,
like
though.
it was, like,
That's
yeah,
not
it
my
is.
point.
Where was Superman?
Yeah,
Well,
where's
we're
Superman?
doing
That's not my
Flash versus
point.
Superman. We're doing
Dude,
Flash
they
versus
make, dude, they
Superman.
make a whole.
It's a Wonder Woman event, bro. That's not
Okay.
the point.
I think I'm not necessarily. Let me pull a Yoo-hoo real quick, but let me
Go
make
ahead.
myself clear. I'm playing devil's advocate. All right, I'm playing devil's advocate. I think there is a point, and I think this is with Superman a lot, and this is why I think maybe you should take Superman out if you're going to take out the three or one of the three. It's that past the Silver Age and a little bit of the Bronze Age, Superman's quality just dropped so much in post-crisis. You would even say that as the Superman guy.
All right,
Flash-
hold on.
All
All
right,
right,
no,
hold on.
let me
hold on.
finish. Let
No,
me
no, no, no,
finish.
no, no,
Let
because
me
I got
finish.
it. No, all right, go ahead.
Let me
You know
finish.
what?
Let me just get it up. Flash is arguably getting better post-crisis. Flash has the sacrificial moment that everybody talks about. What's the Superman moment in Crisis of Infinite Events that people talk about? They
Him
talk about a
carrying a dead
freaking
Statement.
cover.
Your statement is literally incorrect because Brendan's making a video on the run that happens right after Crisis that fucking sucks.
Right, and how
So
he
what-
developed
but
into
it,
a
for
the
it
12
sucks
issue
for, like,
run.
Bro, so
the
we had
12
to, so
issue run?
he had to instantly turn to shit, and then we had to develop out.
bro, but okay, but still, my point is there that on Crisis on Infinite Earths.
So David,
Go ahead.
if the Flash getting better is a qualification to put him on the Mount Rushmore, does that mean Spider-Man comics getting worse means we should replace Spider-Man?
Spider-Man
with
has better-
Superman?
Spider-Man
No.
has better. Spider-Man has there's a lot I could go into that, but I don't want to yap too much about Spider-Man right now. But Spider-Man has had a better stream of comics than Superman since the Bronze Age. Spider-Man shits on Superman starting in the 60s. As soon as Spider-Man is conceived, he is way better of a character and has better stories than Superman. Chris will even tell you that. From the 60s.
He hasn't read any of the stories in the era before that. He doesn't know what he's
So am I
talking
wrong? So
about.
tell-
The
so
only
tell me
thing
I'm
you
wrong.
read is
So tell me
Spider-Man.
I'm wrong.
You're
So tell me I'm wrong.
wrong. You're wrong. You
Spider-Man-
don't fucking know. You
60
don't
Superman is
know.
better than
Same with
Spider-Man.
Flash Boy over here. He doesn't
And-
know either.
and-
That's why he's trying to replace the character. Guys, you're trying to replace the character who that if he wasn't on the Mount Rushmore, like, dude, if he's not around, we're not
Yeah,
screaming
bro,
at each
we
other
get
right
it,
now, bro.
All right. Yeah, you used that before, buddy. Way to rehurt. Way to.
And I'm right.
you-
And I'm right.
Is
No, you guys
Dark
look like
Knight-
you guys
is-
look
is
like
he-
clowns right
is-
now, bro.
is-
Every
is-
superhero
is-
is just trying to capture the same lightning in a bottle.
No, the fuck they're not.
Lightning in
Yes,
a
they
bottle.
are.
Let you
Every
go.
superhero, every superhero
Can I
is just
ask Brendan?
Superman done again.
No,
Watch
bro.
my video. You'd fucking know that.
Can I ask Brendan a question?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Brendan, what's one of your least favorite eras of DC Comics?
Honestly, probably modern.
And is there like a specific modern era?
Are you gonna be talking about Spurrier's Flash? Is that you're trying to get?
No,
to
no,
right
no,
now?
no. Like a specific modern era of DC.
I mean, I feel like post Rebirth has been kind of weak sauce because they don't really know what they're doing.
So you hate post Rebirth more than New 52? I know you're not a big fan of New 52.
I enjoy the New 52 a lot.
But you think New 52 was a mistake, right?
I think in terms of the direction they were taking characters, yeah, it was the decision itself. I think you could have still done New 52 and kept the original. You could have kept Dick as Batman. You could have kept Wally as the Flash.
So
You know what I
ultimately,
mean?
New 52 was ambitious, but it failed as a project.
I don't think it failed. I think it
You
was
don't think it
actually
failed?
Really? You don't think? You don't
I have
think?
my
whole
video
TikTok
talking about
video.
my video talking about why I feel like DC's New 52 was a mistake wasn't because the project failed. I think the project did relatively well. I think what the project did was it set DC on a cycle of kind of just rinsing and repeating their characters.
I see.
Yeah.
So New 52 put us into the place where we're at right now, where DC's just trapped in this cycle of like doing the same.
I mean,
thing over
how
and
many
over again,
times
right?
how many times has Superman not been Superman for a little bit and come back?
Okay,
You know what I
so
mean?
great. So we're all on the same
I don't
page.
know. You tell me, Brendan.
Let me cook. So we're all on the same page. New
At least 3 I can
52
think of.
is the reason DC is stuck on this cycle of like rinsing and repeating the same old stories.
I
Whose
wouldn't
fault
say New
is-
52 is the main reason. I would say it's more so the success.
Bro, just
of
shut
the New
up.
52.
Just shut up and give me my argument because that's just what you said, bro. Anyway, who gave us New 52? The fucking Flash, man.
That's
You
not fair.
can't put Flash on the Mount Rushmore.
You're
If
not
like
cooking.
Jeffrey Johns' New 52, if Jeffrey Johns' Flashpoint event is the reason why DC Comics
But
sucks.
hold on.
That's
right
not. That's
now.
Hold
an
on. I just want to
exaggeration.
clarify. I just want to
That's
clarify.
why.
So you agree with me? You
He
agree that
sucked.
New 52 was a mistake? Go
Yeah.
ahead. You don't like Scott Snyder's New 52 Batman? You think that was a bad thing?
You could have
I
done that
fucking-
in mainline canon, dude. Like,
I
that's
like
not.
New 52, but
Oh,
So then you don't agree
Oh.
with that. So then that's
Oh.
not valid for you to say.
I'm trying to use Brendan's own logic against him here, guys.
But
yeah,
that's
except
you're also
you're formulating an opinion that isn't mine.
you're
You
also
are
over-exaggerating.
so flip floppy with your opinions.
Like what was the last
Anymore.
what was the
Hold
last
on.
character-driven Superman comic? The one that you
Action,
don't even want to
Action
read.
Comics.
The
that
one that
comes
you don't
out-
even
that
want to read.
comes
The
out every
Tamaki
month.
run. Bro,
No,
that doesn't
Action
even
Comics.
feature Superman. That's not Cal. That's
Well,
not Cal anymore,
It did
dude.
up until the reign of Superboy.
Yes, it is. Action Comics features
David,
Superboy.
What about David? What
Oh,
are
yeah,
some
technically
modern
that is
Flash runs
Superboy.
that you know
But
about?
hold on,
I
'cause I
feel
think
like
David.
I feel like if we ask David to go bar for bar, he could probably name more Superman and Superman authors and Superman writers than Flash authors
Let's
and
do it.
Flash writers.
Let's do it.
You got to be honest though.
Okay.
I wanted to before we do that, can we touch on something really quick?
Go.
I think that the reason that Superman has a lot of character inconsistencies, one, it has to do with what Brendan said. The New 52 is unfortunately like probably one of our bad turning points in comics. It's the moment when we shift away from when we shift away from serialized storytelling that rewards you for reading it, and we shift more towards selling trade paperbacks and just trying to get new readers. Like, that's our main goal since the New 52 now, is just get new readers on. And I feel like there's kind of a care that's been taken away from older readers in that regard. And that's where Superman's characterization comes in. So after Superman pivots away from being a real character, he kind of becomes, we talked about it before, he becomes like an idea, right? And that's the Superman that you guys know. You guys don't know Superman the character. You know Superman the idea. That's why you think... Oh, no, hold on. That's why you think he's kind of boring. But that's why you like James Gunn's Superman, is because that's Superman the character. He does show up that way sometimes in the comics with writers who know how to handle him, right? But ultimately, it's like with any character, right? Like, you could say that about anybody. The version of the character that you like isn't going to show up unless the right writer has him. But unfortunately for Superman, it's just going to be that tough forever because of how big of a character he is. He's too big to handle.
Mom, Uncle Chris is talking about Superman again.
Listen, I'm gonna cap it off here for Brendan. I think it says a lot when it's harder to sell Superman to kids than it is Flash. Look at all those
Dude,
Flash
that's
omnis
not
before.
true. That's
That
not-
is true. Kids
is
aren't
not
buying
true.
Superman comics. They're reading Flash. They love Flash. Look at all those Flash omnis that are being produced. How many freaking Superman omnis are being
Children are
produced?
buying omnibus editions, David. It's grown men like us. Children
Okay,
don't have
and
the
then, okay, and guess what? They
You know
don't
what
want the
children are
Superman.
buying?
Yeah, I just bought this $200 book for my kid, bro.
They're buying Superman action figures. They're buying Superman T-shirts.
They're not though.
They're
They're
watching
buying
the Superman
Flash stuff.
movie.
Flash is definitely more popular
The
with the youth
only
than
reason
Superman.
people buy a Flash T-shirt is because Sheldon wears one in The Big Bang Theory.
That's
okay?
stupid, bro.
Bazinga.
All
That's
right.
wrong.
All right.
I have a Flash
I
T-shirt.
literally
and
had a
I
Flash
didn't even watch
T-shirt
The Big
that said
Bang Theory.
Bazinga on the back. I've never bought a Superman T-shirt that says Bazinga.
No, bro. So why is there more Flash Omnis than Superman Omnis?
Well, it's because of the problem that we were talking about it, right? With editorial and keeping the image of Superman consistent. So those Flash Omnis that Brendan has there, they're pretty consistent with the canon and like a line of the character. Now, obviously, with all Omnis, they jump around, right? But with Superman, it's a lot harder. There are two versions of Superman that they can keep consistent in the public eye. The Golden Age, because he's fucking simple as hell, can't fuck with that. And the modern stuff, because Crisis fucks shit up so bad and it's so different, it's the only stuff that you can still reference without confusing people.
Low key, I just wanted to rage bait Chris.
Yeah, I know, and you look goofy while you did it too. That's the best part. Is it was easy to dismantle your ass.
I do think if we were to give a fifth spot to the Mount Rushmore, that I do think the Flash should be on there. But there's
That's
not
a
a
whole
fifth spot.
that's a whole different conversation. Maybe we'll have it next time. All right, this is a little thing we're stealing from NPR Music. Shout out those guys or screw those guys, depending on how you feel about them. Grant Morrison. We're gonna do a little pyramid game. Grant Morrison as a Batman writer, top 25 all time,
Definitely.
top 15 all time,
Yeah.
top 10 all time,
Yes.
top 5 Batman writer of all time,
Yes.
top 3 Batman writer of all time.
Yes.
Okay. Is Grant Morrison the greatest Batman writer of all time?
I don't know. I don't know.
Where would you put them? On
I
the
still
top?
have more to read. Fucking guy.
I would put them maybe like two or three. Yeah.
Who's your one, Dixon?
Who's your?
I don't know. I don't know who my one is. You put me on the spot.
Who Comic Review's favorite Batman writer ever is Chuck Dixon.
Wait.
Wait.
Canon.
No.
So we got some viewer mail here for you guys. We got a tweet and then a bunch of comments from our TikTok. So if you'd like to see us read your comments, go ahead and head over to our socials, comment on a video, and let us know what you think.
We got a tweet.
No, this isn't a tweet. This isn't a tweet at us. This is a tweet that I pulled just because I thought it was interesting and it would call for some good discussion. So,
It's a little disingenuous to call
For those who don't know though, Crashout does have a Twitter.
do we really?
I'm the only one who follows it, but yes, we do have a
That's
Twitter,
insane,
and it only follows Chris and me. Because
Hey, shout out. Well, there we go. We got the Crashout Twitter. If you want to tweet at us, let us know.
Let's start with the tweet. What does the tweet say, Chris?
So the tweet says variant covers should not be a thing. You get one cover, make it good. I think with the most recent Absolute Batman issue having almost 150 variants, I think this is a fair critique to make.
Yeah, I think Loki, the industry has variant fatigue.
No, listen, I'm gonna do the based approach of this. I think variant covers are important because it gives people work. I think if you take away those 100 covers of Batman Absolute, you're taking away a lot of people's opportunities to draw and work for a company like DC Comics and add that to their resume. You have to understand that when it comes to artists, they literally are just taking what they can. So imagine you are an up-and-coming artist and somehow you get the opportunity to draw a variant cover for Absolute Batman issue 37. And that cover is a banger, and for whatever reason, it's the cover that puts you on the map. They're gonna look at that and they're gonna start hiring you for other covers. Marvel might even hit you up, Image might hit you up, and then boom, you're now in the industry. You're no longer just throwing your thing out there. You're showing your art to the world. I say double the variant covers.
Do people really start as variant artists before they're ever doing interiors?
Yeah, sometimes you start as a cover artist. Yeah,
sometimes you're just a cover artist. There's people who are just cover artists.
Living off covers.
I guess in my head, I always felt like it'd be harder to get a job doing cover art.
Okay, well, how about this?
How about this? Now.
David, I agree with you. That's a really good point. You've actually flipped my mind there because I didn't think about that. You're right. I think that does beg the question though: should the smaller artists be given a better chance? Like, how many times has there been like 10 variant covers for a cover or for like a comic, but then there's also like 3 of them are Jim Lee. Like I think about the Batman 158. There were like 10 Jim Lee covers. We don't need that many Jim Lee covers. What I would like is more smaller, maybe less known artists getting their chance to put their twist on these characters. I think that, if anything, would bring me into the idea of wanting to buy more variant covers. Because you know what? As much as I love Jim Lee's art, bro, when it comes to my comic book Mount Rushmore, I think there's got to be Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Batman, but you got to get rid of Superman. You got to put Flash on there because Flash is a pivotal character who has helped to transition DC through multiple eras. And, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I literally do buy Jim Lee covers. But as much as I love Jim Lee's art, I do feel like if there were something from an artist who I'd never seen before and it stood out to me, I might feel more driven to get that than just another Jim Lee cover, low key.
I kind of see your perspective on that, but I think they really only do that for very special events. Let's be honest. Like you just said, what was the issue you said?
That it was Hush 2.
Hush 2. So the main artist of the book had 10 variant covers. That makes sense to me. He's the artist of the book, and he's one of the most talked about and popular comic book artists of all time.
And I love Jim Lee's art. That's why I buy his covers. I'm just saying, is there a point at which we reach where these covers are kind of drowning out the other artists who maybe could use a spotlight with those issues? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I hate Jim Lee's covers on art, or I don't see the point in Jim Lee having a few covers here or there on, especially on a run that he himself is the main artist for. I'm just saying, when you get to 10 plus covers from the same artists,
you're naming something that I don't think is a common occurrence.
Yeah, like what is the average when you go to a comic book store? How many variant covers are there for you to really pick up, unless they do a special?
It depends on the popularity of the run. On the lower end, so like for runs that are really unpopular or get low print runs, you'll only have 2 or 3 variant covers.
Exactly.
If you're dealing, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about popular comics that sell well. Comics that sell well, you're looking at usually like I think it depends on how long the series has been going on for too. Obviously, when you're closer to number 1, you're going to have more variants, but I would say upper limit of 10 to 15, and then an average of maybe
You've
5.
seen 10 to 15 variant covers in a comic book store? Because I
never have seen that.
I've seen like a max 3 or 4, and honestly, maybe it's just the way my stores order, but if they're popular titles like Absolute Batman, they usually sell out of everything but the A cover.
So, but I mean, you're talking about your experience going into an LCS, but how many times do you go into an LCS?
I like go to LCS.
No, you know what?
I go to my LCS all the time. Like I never bought stuff because I'm not a.
I know David does because he buys those covers.
One of our favorite places to go was like a local comic book store. Is right next to one of our favorite restaurants. So we would go to the restaurant, go to the comic book store like every other week. Like I would look at the single issues and I'd always be curious what's coming out. And I almost picked up Absolute Batman and Absolute Martian Manhunter and Absolute Wonder Woman and Ultimate Spider-Man and all the popular releases, and they were all sold out. Okay.
I also think that because of variant covers, you can get that market of people that don't necessarily read single issues. I am a perfect example of that. My name is Omnibus God. If you follow me on socials, if you've seen my collection before, I collect omnibus and collected editions. I made a whole documentary about it. However, I have a pull list and I pull covers that I like because I enjoy the art and I'm going to read these stories eventually, but I mainly collect it because I want this cover because I'm a really big art guy. A big example is right now what I have on my pull list is the Lee Bermejo Amazing Spider-Man covers. I told my LCS if there's a cover of Lee Bermejo drawing Spider-Man, I want it on my pull list. And so that's helping the business. If you don't have that, because Amazing Spider-Man doesn't have Lee Bermejo as one of the main artists, if you don't have stuff like that, you're probably missing out on a market of people that are going to buy singles because they like the covers and they like the variants. And I understand that leaves like, you know, a problem of people just buying covers and not reading their comics. That's a thing, but that's just in general a problem with any hobby of people over consuming and not buying and not reading the stuff and not using the product. But I'm reading these comics. I'm buying Omnis and I'm reading them. I'm going to read these stories digitally, but I'm also supporting the LCS by getting these covers. If they take these variant covers away, I'm not always going to be sold on the cover A. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. And I guess, technically, yeah, when I said an upper limit of 10, that was more so taking an average between because with a first or second issue, there's normally more variants. But also you have to include the incentive covers. As soon as you include incentive covers, you're usually looking at a minimum of like 7 to 8 covers for a single issue. So I don't know. I feel like that's
I think
something
that
I think
helps
at the end of the
drops out, too.
day, it boils
I'm not
down
against
to
incentive covers. I'm just saying you
it
asked how many variants are
doesn't
there.
hurt the industry if the LCS knows what to order. And I think we're in a day and age where a lot of LCSs order based off of pull lists, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
don't think it hurts anybody even if the LCS orders a couple things from a pull list that people don't pull, that's like 2 or 3 issues, right? Like they're not ordering hundreds of these 150 different Batman they're not ordering 100,000 absolute Batman variants. They're ordering the variants that people want, and that doesn't hurt anybody.
Not Brendan being anti-artist getting worse.
I'm not
Oh.
anti-artist. What I'm saying
think-
is I already said, I agree with David. I think that, yeah, you know what? Variance makes sense. I was just talking about the fact that I think maybe for the more, household names, we should allow for smaller, like lesser known people to do some more of those covers. Because, how many times have you seen a comic cover and it's one of the big names making one of those covers? And I'm not against that, and I get it that it benefits the industry. Yeah, technically you could still buy a Jim Lee cover. And
I was gonna say that's the solution: is let the big wigs, like big names like Jim Lee, do their covers.
It's almost like letting Absolute Batman have 100 variant covers gives 100 different artists the opportunity to.
And I agree with that. But
that's what we're
50
saying.
of those aren't the same artist.
Brendan, that's an over-exaggeration. 50 of those are not Jim Lee. 10 of those isn't even Jim Lee, bro. I get what you're saying, but also you who hit it right on the head. The fact that there's that many variant covers is the solution to, how can we give the more up-and-coming artists and lower artists more of an opportunity? You do it by opening up the pool.
Well said, gentlemen. And with that, I think we're going to move into our actual viewer mails. So this comes from one of our TikToks. I'm not sure which one, but this is from Heath Montgomery. Thank you, Heath. It says, will Marvel's Midnight Universe continue the excitement of comics, or will it be the lesser stepbrother?
Could be ass.
Yeah,
So, I
not
think it's going to
excited
be
for
a
it.
lot I think it's just going to be Ultimate 2.0. I think it's going to be a mixed bag where you're going to have probably 1 or 2 really good standouts, and then the rest is just kind of poor execution. I think the one that'll stand out to me at least is PKJ Spider-Man. I've already kind of talked about this off the pod, but I think his take and the way he does horror and the kind of grotesque body horror, the way he depicts it. Obviously he's not the artist, but he's a key proponent in that layout, that planning. I think that could lean well into the horror aspects of Spider-Man.
Sorry, I hate to cut you off, but the problem with that, dude, is I'm going to say this right now. As a Spider-Man fan, a massive Spider-Man fan, I don't want to fucking read a book about Spider-Man being a spider.
That's great. You don't have to.
That's what it's going to be, bro. But that's bullshit, dude. Just let PKJ write a Spider-Man comic.
You also don't know that that's what he's gonna do. You don't know that he's just gonna be a 24/7
I'll bet you a whole Omni right now.
What if he's what if
put an Omni on
PKJ?
it.
What if PK? Let me speak. What if PKJ does a were spider thing? The moon is
That's
full,
just
he
as-
becomes a fucking spider,
just as
a
lame.
huge spider. I
Brendan,
don't think that's lame. I think that's cool.
If anything that is Peter Parker, body horror, actually transforming into a spider, bro, we've seen that. There's an individual issue in every Spider-Verse crossover, I'm pretty sure, where
Have you
something
read
like
them?
that happens. Yes, I
Have you read
have. Yeah, they're boring.
Spider-Man turning into a spider is overdone. The best time it was done was the first time.
I think 90% of people, when they talk about oh yeah, I've seen this before, it's just because they watched the 90s cartoon.
Dude, no, I'm telling you, issue 100, Spider-Man grows.
No, I know it happens in
Issue
the comics.
100
I'm saying I don't think that many people have actually read those comics.
I think a lot of people have read.
Yeah,
I would
Spider-Man.
hope that the people listening to this conversation have.
But even if they haven't, the point still stands.
Doesn't it happen in JMS's run?
It technically, yes.
Which is like one
Yeah.
of the most popular Spider-Man runs ever. Have you read that one, Brendan?
It's what they're
No.
adapting.
So
right
you're
now.
talking about
Yeah.
people who haven't read comics, but you're the one who hasn't read the comics.
Yeah, but I'm also not the one writing off the idea of him having that transformation. I'm saying the people who are writing off being like, "Oh, I've seen this before." I'm saying, what are the odds those people actually read those issues?
Well, the problem is that Marvel had something really special with the Ultimate Universe, and they were the first to do it. To be like,
Did
"Hey,
they
let's
though?
hold on, man. Let me finish." Yes, when the Ultimate Universe started, if you were there, you know it was exciting. It felt like,
Yeah.
holy shit, the Ultimate Universe is back, and they're gonna try to do some interesting interesting spins on these characters. They're gonna comment on the characters while the books are happening, and then DC said, "Hold on. What if we really reinvent these characters?" And that's the worst part with the Midnight Universe, is that they're really just copying it. They're really just copying DC's homework.
You don't
This
know
is
that.
No, you're
Brendan.
right. I don't think. Well, we know the premises of these books, and this is where I disagree with Chris, but I agree with Chris's direction. It's them attempting to copy the absolute universe and how it's like this darker thing, and like, you know, they're in Darkseid's world or whatever, and the bad guys are the good guys and the good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the problem is Marvel is once again just taking this interpretation and making it goofy and corny, and what the Midnight Universe is going to be is just going to be Universal monsters with Marvel characters.
And that's fucking awesome.
No, it's
Brendan,
dude, why do
there's
you want
comics with
X-Men?
the Universal monsters right now, bro.
Why
Like,
would I don't care about the X-Men as vampires,
And that's
especially when they
great.
just
You
when
can
they just
still
got done
read the
doing
main
Bloodline.
X-Men. You can read the main X-Men.
no, you
don't
can't, because
have
that
to
book
read it.
sucks, dude.
So what is it? We just don't like X-Men now? Like what?
I mean,
But
you
know-
said you don't like X-Men.
You're the one that's reading it.
I don't like the current X-Men ongoing, and you don't like it either, Brendan. We talked about this.
It's not that I don't like it. I don't like the event.
Bro, you're
kind of-
flipping again, bro.
What are you
Holy-
talking about?
Dude, normally that's a Chris thing. You're flip
I
flopping
know.
now.
I literally talked about the fact that I really like the new characters that Gail Simone introduced to the X-Men roster. I do feel like towards the end there, she kind of lost the direction she wanted to go with those characters, but I don't think it was a bad run. The thing that made me jump off was the fact that I just finished the Age of Revelation and they just announced this fucking DNX bullshit. Like, I don't care about that. I liked the series
But
as
you're
they
gonna
were.
care about Vampire X-Men?
Yeah, because you know what? It's probably not going to get wrapped up in 20 million events right away. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
man.
but instead it's gonna be Jonathan Hickman writing like 10 issues.
Hickman on X-Men? Oh, terrible. The
It's
last
gonna-
time he was on X-Men, what happened?
What's
What's one of the few books you chose to reread in less than a year? Tell me.
I
Who
didn't
wrote
choose to
that
read it. You
book?
guys forced me to read it. So
We
screw
couldn't
on
force
that.
you to read a book if we fucking had your dick in a fucking chassis. You chose to reread that book, and you
Alright.
know it. And
Alright.
you were okay with it. You know why? Because you liked it. Hickman on X-Men is good. So you guys shitting on this without even like giving it a chance?
It's just my
we haven't
problem-
even seen a preview of
My
what that's
pro-
gonna look like yet. We
my
just know that
problem
there's
is-
gonna be a vampire storm, maybe.
My problem is that Marvel is wasting their time trying to do like these gimmicky things with like otherworld storytelling, when what they need to do is fix their fucking mainline universe, and they need to stop canceling books and just figure out what the hell they're doing with their actual 616 characters. If you guys wanted to keep going with the alternate universe stuff, then you should have kept the Ultimate Universe going.
The fact of the matter is that Marvel's on a downward spiral right now, and the number one thing that they want to focus on, at least on the comic side, is just making money. And whether that be through blind bags or like a million events or like these like starting and stopping of universes, they know that that's going to spike the numbers somehow. But I think ultimately this is going to get really, really old really fast and probably shoot them in the foot really, really soon. So our next comment comes from the first son of Odin. This is from Thor, God of Thunder. I enjoy a pre-85 comic from time to time, but man, the stuff from the 60s and before can be a real slog. Just so much text.
Was that a Yoohoo alt account?
I don't know. You who's not a Thor fan, so
I think if you write off an entire era of comic books as not good, there's a problem there, because there's always going to be something that stands out as good. Even in the comics that are bad, there's something you can learn to appreciate out of them. You who knows this very well, he learned to appreciate Silver Spider-Man, and I
Not
think,
really though.
yeah, low-key didn't though. Um,
I think
but
everyone-
like when we talk about pre-60s, we're still counting the beginnings of the Silver Era, and I think the beginnings of the Silver Era is phenomenal. like obviously I haven't read a shit ton of it, but I read the first few Silver Age issues of Superman, and dude, I'm buying that omnibus in my next haul because I loved it so much. So I think you can't write off an entire era of comics. Yeah, it's maybe less appealing to you, maybe it doesn't fit as well with you, but you can't just be like, oh, anything pre-60s. I can't do that because then you're gonna be like Yoo-hoo and you won't read any good comics.
And that's the thing, Brennan, is the thing that people have problems with comprehending comic book storytelling is that people can't understand the importance and they can't enjoy concepts. Yoo-hoo's favorite line is that, oh, just because it was the first doesn't mean it's good. And I agree with that. That's 100% true. But I don't understand how you can't read a Silver Age comic and be absolutely wowed by the fact that all those years ago, 60 years ago, they were coming up with these crazy ideas and concepts that ultimately are just being recreated now. What's like the craziest thing you can think of when it comes to superhero comics? What's the craziest thing you can think of that's like a brand new concept? It's hard to think of something, dude, because the multiverse, the negative zone, and the world building of early 60s Marvel, and the characters themselves, the technology, all of this stuff, the hierarchy of these different powerful characters, it all started back then. They all had these genius ideas back then. And I'm not saying it's because it's the first time that it's good. I'm just saying it's like, oh, wow, they did this early.
I think something that's really important to understand is that they're all comics, right? Old comics, those are the same as your new comics, and I think you need to approach them in the same way as well, right? Like when you're reading a new book, there are themes and analysis that are in there, and you should be able to do that with the old books as well. There's still themes and analysis to be had in a Silver Age book, whether it be from Marvel or whether it be from DC. So this one comes in from written by Kay. Thank you, Kay. I'm the Superman fan. Can't remember the last time I read a comic past 1999.
I mean,
so
I guess kind of fair enough. Like just because they haven't read a comic in a while from past 1999 doesn't mean that they won't eventually get there. And I do feel
definitely.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I feel like what they're saying is they haven't read a Superman comic past 1999, right?
Yeah, and
I think
honestly,
proves my point that.
Well, hold on. Let me.
Actually, they've read a Flash comic.
I can speak to this a little historically. So 1999, it's kind of coming not right after stuff like Superman Blue and Death of Superman, but we're like on the tail end. That's what's coming out in the 90s, and that's what's happening. And those aren't really, it's not the best stuff, you know. Writers really wanted to try and spruce up Superman's powers because his life and world wasn't that interesting, so they figured they needed to make him more interesting through his power set, and that became really frustrating for a lot of readers. And I'm sure that's probably why this person hasn't read since 99, is just because it was a frustrating time for Superman. But I will say it's kind of like the mining meme where the dude is like mining and then he stops right before he hits diamonds and turns around.
I want to say something really quick. This is going to be a hot take if we have any Gen X boomer fans, but like I think there's a really big problem in the kind of like comic book community where older comic book fans don't read comics past a certain point and then they just turn into full-blown haters, bro.
You're hella
I've seen it happen too often in my comment section where someone will be like, yeah, I haven't read Batman since blah 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 because this shit's all garbage now, you dumb little kid.
Well,
and it's like, dude,
okay.
Listen, I think if you want to be a comic book fan, what you've read is valid no matter what. But in that same vein, I think a lot of these older guys, I mean, they're all old guys. I've never seen an old woman comment this, if I'm being real, right? It's all men. It's all old men who are just like bitter and angry at the fact that like their childhood is gone and people are still enjoying this thing, but it's different now. And I think it's just kind of depressing. And I don't know if that's what this comment's getting at. I don't know if this guy's trying to be that person, but I've seen a lot of people like that. And I think, like Chris said, it's okay to like stop. If this is the logical endpoint for you, that's valid. But don't use that against other people.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily what this comment was going for. But I agree with your point there, Yoo-hoo. I mean, I also do kind of understand to a sense, like, devil's advocate here, why they might be bitter. Like, imagine, like, let's say you were like Chris's age currently, and you grew up on Silver Age Superman, and then Crisis happens. You know what I mean?
That would suck.
Like you got to understand how polarizing that must be to have been like a dedicated fan of this character, to have read all that stuff up to that point, and then suddenly just
Okay, to
lose your
speak on that
character.
though, do you know who was Chris's age when Crisis happened? All of your favorite comic book writers. You know, like Mark Waid probably was, Grant Morrison probably was, Alan Moore probably was.
Yeah,
Like
and I'm not
who
trying to
loved the Silver
say.
Age loved Crisis.
Listen, I would
I'm
my
not.
my thing. Sorry, Brendan, but my thing
ahead.
to that is I am a Spider-Man fan, and I have read Spider-Man runs that are absolutely amazing and have progressed the character, and that's what sold me on Spider-Man was the fact that he was for 30 years a progressing character. If not a little bit more, for like maybe 40 years he progressed. It stunted a little bit and then he progressed some more. And then they started moving. I said this to Chris off cam before. Spider-Man is still progressing, but the thing is that he takes one step forward and then they take him like 2 steps back.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never given up on the character because I think if you're a real fan of the character, you take what you can. I think that's a big issue with Spider-Man fans. Is post one more day, they just want to give up. And you know what? I understand. One More Day did a lot of damage to the character of Spider-Man, and it ultimately took the character on the wrong direction. But I've had conversations with actual Spider-Man fans in real life and online where they're just straight up like, I haven't read anything post One More Day. That the character died for me that at that point. Do you know how many good comics you're missing out on? People genuinely believe that Spider-Man hasn't had a good comic since like 2000, what was that? Like 2005? And that's far from true. And they don't want to take things like Spider-Man being a billionaire and being in a Tony Stark position, Spider-Man switching bodies and dying and switching bodies with his arch nemesis. They don't want to take those things and those concepts and they don't want to look at those and be like, okay, I'm interested. I'll check it out. They don't want to look at the redemption of Norman Osborn, which I know is probably about to get ruined. But the fact that it was there for almost half a decade is crazy. It's again, people, I was mainly talking to like newer gen about this, but you who low-key just brought it up. This is just a problem across all people, old people, young people. People are just so weird about not understanding and enjoying concepts. Like, how can you call yourself a Spider-Man fan but you're saying you're not interested in a comic book where Spider-Man is in space and Norman Osborn is freaking acting as Spider-Man?
I think you know what, to tie this up with a little bow on top, we all have our blind spots. I think, and that's important to recognize that like no one's perfect, no one's gonna read everything. And I think on this podcast is called Crashout Comics. We're all hyperbolic for the camera, right? And we're also
Yeah.
hyperbolic because we just like to piss each other off sometimes. I genuinely don't hate Silver Age Flash. I really you know, I'm glad this is recording because I probably won't say this again, but I really do respect the commitment Chris and Brendan have to reading some of those Silver and Golden Age stories and finding the roots of these characters and learning about them and actually enjoying it. I think there's something really beautiful in being able to go back and do that.
So this one comes from Doctor. This
no.
just says
I know the comment already.
Claremont can't plot by himself to save his life.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Doctor's comments, bro. Shout out Doctor for being active on our page, but like Dr. Loki hates Claremont, dude. Every time we make a video about Claremont, it'll be something like Claremont overrated, Claremont can't do this, Claremont can't do that. Yeah, Claremont definitely had some help when it came to connecting plot points and threading everything together, but that doesn't mean he can't plot to save his life. I think that's a bit hyperbolic.
Claremont's X-Men in the late 80s turns into something that is still really fun and still representative of the work he was doing prior, but it feels like it's not as concise because there's a lot more characters. I'll be honest, I'm reading these issues. Sometimes I don't even know who's on the page because there's so many. Like he introduces so many characters and you can get lost in the sauce. I do think that there is some merit in the fact that sometimes Chris Claremont stories can feel a little, just a tad drawn out and just a smidge kind of like hard to digest.
But a question for you then, Yoo-hoo. This is for Comics Concierge. Chris Claremont as an X-Men writer, under, over, or perfectly rated?
There's no such thing as underrated.
So our last comment of the day comes from Daz, and it's actually a really good comment talking about Bendis' Superman. So it says, Bendis' Superman is fantastic. He's got a perfect voice for the character, had injected the book with so many interesting ideas. Nobody in the 21st century did mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent working at the Daily Planet better than him. This is a fantastic comment, and I love it. I said this before when we talked about Bendis, is that he did a lot of the heavy lifting post-Rebirth when we were reestablishing all of the concepts that had gone away after the New 52, right? And he did a lot of cool stuff by introducing the reason that Krypton had blown up. They made a character called Rogol Zar. And while the stories that featured Rogol Zar were, I would say, above mid, I give them 3.5 stars. The concept and the idea of Rogol Zar is something that is fascinating to me, and I love the way that it relates to the House of El and like the Kryptonian Science Council. He also, Bendis also reestablished a cool concept from the Silver Age, which was that Superman had multiple fortresses. So he would have one in the Arctic, there would be one in the middle of the ocean, there'd be one like in the Amazon. And obviously, as the comment states, his Clark Kent was also fantastic. Bendis famously did the identity reveal and got rid of the Clark Kent persona for a little bit, and that issue is actually really, really good, and it kind of deconstructs who is Clark Kent, is he still Superman, who is Superman, what's Kal-El, where do they meet in the middle.
I think probably the reason that Bendis' Superman definitely does deserve a little bit more love is because it gave us this. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
This is
wow.
the
What a good
Superman.
meme, bro.
There's a star man waiting in
Son.
the sky.
Well, what are the memes? Son, Dad, I'm a Superman fan. That's okay, son. I'll support you. Dad, I'm a Batman fan. Go get the rope.
Now,
Please,
ladies and
all
gentlemen, boys and girls, true believers of all ages, it's time for, drum roll, ladies and gentlemen, Wheel of Books.
Editing omnibus here. I am so sorry about that, guys. So yes, we did do a wheel and we did pick a book. However, we recorded this episode 2 weeks ago, and in the 2 weeks that we were supposed to read the book, the Crashout crew just wasn't feeling the pick, like just all together. I will say the book that got picked was my book. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. I think you guys should wait till the next episode and we'll tell you then. And we kind of wanted just to switch things up. So without further ado, the actual book for the next book club episode is going to be She-Hulk by Rainbow Rowell. We're going to be reading the whole run from what I understand, so the omnibus. So stay tuned if you want to read along, pick up those or go read it online. And sorry you guys didn't get to see the wheel stuff, but we promise we will do it next time and commit to that pick. But thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Stay crashing out.